Hey guys, Tony here, and as you see I got my hair cut and it feels great to my haircut again. But it's Friday. Went out and drove for a little bit there, a couple hours, for like 3 hours I was online. And my girlfriend is starting a second job tonight at 4 until 10, and then I'll log back in and do some driving. I don't know how this is gonna affect my airport driving. I just do not know yet. But we will see. It's very nice outside today. Very, very nice. And so yeah, I don't know. It's early Friday. Probably gonna be a long night tonight. And yeah. Just do not know. But it's definitely gonna be fun. You know, summer's almost over. Like July is like the slow part for Uber, and they'll start picking up next month. Although, you know, I've started interacting with some of the other drivers, and I joined a Facebook group. And there's a driver on there, and he is not happy with a lot of drivers being at the airport queue. And you know, I explained to him, I was like, look, man, I was like, any driver with half a brain knows that business has went down, and there's more drivers available now. So drivers that do want to make money, they're doing the airport. You know, and yeah, they are waiting around like an hour to make a $10 trip. You know, it is what it is. The market isn't that big in Grand Rapids. It's not that big of a city. It's not California. You know, it's not New York. It's not Atlanta. You know, it's none of those things. So you kind of got to get the table scraps when you get busy. Like last year, you know, in the fall months and the winter months, I was making really good money. And as of spring, there's a whole new influx of drivers, and it makes you work twice as hard. Like you're working twice as hard to make the same amount of money. And so by doing the airport, you're not doing twice as much work anymore. You're just back to what you were doing before. And my breakdown to him was, look, it would take almost 5 trips at minimum fares in downtown to make a $10 trip from the airport. You know, and yeah, I could take those 5 trips in that hour, but I don't care about my number of trips. I've given 3,600 trips. I've had my window get busted out. I've had people puke in my car. I've had people leave underwear in my car. I've had, you know, people call me a beaner in my car. So, yeah, I don't know. It's one of those things like with the airport thing. Like one of my commenters yesterday, Jimmy Johnson, was saying about, you know, like if you were, you know, getting a crazy rides or making a whole lot of money. The thing is, there's a lot of drivers that aren't making a whole lot of money. You know, that's the thing. Like, I'm barely getting by. You know, it used, like, last year, at, you know, in the fall months, like in September, I had more money than I knew what to do with. In October, I had more money than I knew what to do with. In November and December, same thing. I had more money than I knew what to do with. But after the turn of the year, drivers just flocked and have saturated the market so badly that there's just not, like, I haven't seen a good surge in downtown Grand Rapids in over 3 months. And I'm talking like a good 5-time surge that lasts, you know, for, you know, more than 25 seconds. Like I'm talking like, you know, 15-20 minute surge at least. Like a nice good chunky surge. That doesn't happen anymore. There's too many drivers out there. And there's so many new drivers always starting that if the new drivers knew half the things that the more experienced drivers knew, it would surge all the time. But no, they just take every little fare they can get. Because Uber blows smoke in their ass and says, hey, look, you can make $90,000 annually. Yes, you can. If you make, you know, you'd have to make almost $2,000 a week, you know, and that would equate to, oh, I don't know, probably about 200 hours, you know. It's way more hours than there are in a week. You know, when I was driving hardcore full time, like we're talking like 70, 80 hours a week, I was making about 1,000, like $950 to $1,000 a week before expenses. So that was before fuel, before before wear and tear on the vehicle, before miles, expenses, cell phone, you know, all that stuff. I was making like 1,000, almost 1,000 a week. And then January came. My soon-to-be ex-wife, or ex-wife now, you know, she found out where I was living. They called my place where I had my car loan through, voluntarily gave my car back to them. Voluntarily. So I lost a huge source of income at that point. So I was scrambling around, borrowing cars, you know, adding them to the platform, using them. Then I got my Santa Fe. You know, it doesn't get great gas miles like what my Civic did. My Civic got almost 40 miles to the gallon. This Santa Fe gets, you know, 20, 22, 23 miles to the gallon on the highway. You know, maybe 26 if I'm just filled up. You know, and in that time, there's been so many more drivers that have added themselves to the roster. There's over 3,000 drivers in Michigan. Now, granted, not all of them are active, because if all of them were active, nobody'd ever get a ride. There just isn't enough demand in the Grand Rapids area to, you know, to do that. But it's one of those things like, I don't know, there's a super high turnover in Uber for a reason, and drivers that do it for longer than 3 months are usually the ones that get smart and, you know, figure out better ways to make money. You know, I always tell drivers, I was like, hey, if you don't have a Square Reader, get a Square Reader. It's free. You know, this way if somebody's like, hey, you want to be my personal driver? I'm like, you know what? I do. I got a Square Reader. And you can take credit cards right through your phone. You know, or they want to do it cash or whatever. You know, because the thing is, the riders are paying a decent amount of money for their rides, but Uber's taking a 40% to 50% cut, sometimes more, depending. There's been trips where Uber's made more money than I have, and I'm like, really? You need to make more money than I do on a trip that you just connected us with? No, it doesn't work like that. But Uber is a technology company, and, you know, so what the rider pays versus what the driver gets paid are separate. They're not the same anymore. And so it's one of those things. But yeah, so I'm going to open up my gas bill here and see how much that is. But yeah, I just wanted to touch base and say that I still like driving Uber. It's just very frustrating. But all right, guys, so I will see you tomorrow. See ya.